All right. Welcome back, ladies. Are you all keeping warm in your necks of the woods? Yeah.
Warm.
So tonight we're just going to have open discussion, process any emotions that are coming up, or anything that you're going through. So it'll be open discussion. Um, I loved reading your experiences with doing the closeout last night on your own. So that was really informative and beneficial. Some of you said it works better for you. Some of you said it worked, your mind trails off a little bit more. For those of you that you're like Peggy or Patty, you had said your monkey mind acts up. That's going to take practice. Like mine still will try to butt in on me, and you'll notice it. You'll notice when mine butts in on me when I'm surrounding protecting at the end of class because I'm like, and I'm like, oh yeah, because I'll pop in and out of the zone. So the more you do it, the more you'll stay in the zone without the monkey mind chattering and kind of trying to like go squirrel, but it that still happens to me even. So don't just extend yourself grace and don't worry about that. So because the more you practice it, the better you get at it and the more effective it becomes. So that's why I wanted you guys to try it on your own so that you can start making that part of your daily routine, right? In the mornings, like I said, I cut cords when I leave the grocery store. If I don't, I'm usually super drained. And it's not because I've had interaction with anybody there. It's just because once you're aware of vibration and energy, like you're aware of it a lot of the time. You know what I mean? So I started cutting cords when I leave the grocery store because I would walk out and I would just feel like super drained. And I think it's because there's just so many people in there and there's so much energy exchange. You know, you walk by a person and it's whoosh, there's an energy exchange. So make it part of your daily routines. How many of you here already have it as part of your daily routine? I know Christine does, Patty does, Becky.
I'm
So
starting.
Lauren, you're starting. Good. I think Peggy probably does it daily too. So the rest of y'all get on the ball. This is part of your healing. So, but I'm glad that you did practice it last night after you got off. Like I said, I'll get to where some days I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want to scroll Facebook in the morning and not, think about having to do my self chores. But if I don't like after day 4 of not doing that and just being a stubborn ass human, I'm usually in a mood. I'm usually in a mood, so I go back to it. Um, on the days that I wake up, I call it gritchity. That's pretty much what my bitchy ego's name is. She's the Gritch. It's the Gritch bitch. So I'm like, I feel gritchity today. If I wake up and I'm feeling gritchity just from having woke up and like, oh, I got all this shit I got to deal with, I'll do it several times. I'll cut cords to my ego and my gritchity self several times, like hour after hour after hour until it dissipates, and it does dissipate usually. So that's a spirit life hack that I've come to figure out for my own personal self, that I don't have to walk through the whole day being in a bad mood for no reason. I can really cut the cord and clear the energy out from my ego, and it will usually slowly shift me into a higher vibration where I'm not, where I don't want to like punch people in the face because they walk by me for no reason. So, because we're all human, we all have those days. So, we're just gonna do open talk tonight. I want to know how you guys are feeling, how the holiday went. I will tell you the best coaching that I do, and those of you that have worked with me know this, is when you come to me, and you state where you're struggling, state what's going on, because that's where I can pop into a channel to get right there with you. Otherwise I just kind of stumble over my words. So I'm going to open it up for discussion. I want to know about any concerns that you're having going into the holidays. It can have to do with grief, it can have to do with boundaries that you're dealing with, having to set with friends or family, pretty much anything that encompasses your journey. So I know Lynn's had a lot going on with Kev's kitty. So Lynn, if you feel like broaching that subject tonight, we're here for it. We're here for you. So anything and everything, nothing is off limits. And I just want to open up the floor for open discussion tonight. I also had down that we're going to talk about spirit communication. So if you guys have questions about spirit communication, what you can be doing to open up your awareness, things to raise your vibration. If you have, I have a very, very detailed truth. Like I really have dove into the nooks and crannies of my truth and what that looks like. And so if you're having issues expanding your truth even more, nothing is off limits today. So that's kind of where I want to go with today. So does anybody want to open up and start?
I'll start.
Okay, go for it, Lynn.
Okay, well, I'm feeling a little better. I think, we had to put our kitty down a week ago, last Tuesday. And he was almost 17, so it wasn't like he was a young cat, but it kind of just came right out of the blue. I had my pajamas on, I was going to bed, and then he just kind of took a turn for the worse. So I had to call my husband, and he came home, and I told my daughter and her boyfriend, and we all drove him to the vets. And I mean, it was just so sudden. But he
Right.
never would have made the night, the vet said. And he was in cardiac arrest, but he was, I mean, he watched The Crown with me that that night. Like he was sitting on my lap watching The Crown. So yeah, the last few days have been pretty rough because I just miss his presence so much,
Right.
And he was Kevin's cat too, and that kind of adds another layer to it. I mean, I'm always a basket case when I lose a pet, but I think maybe because it was such a shock, it was so sudden. And
well,
then
and
the
I was
fact that
gonna
it was,
say because Kevin was sudden as well.
yeah, that's
So
right.
you got
Exactly.
hit
Yeah.
with another sudden with no warning. So
Yeah.
that probably triggered some stuff with
Oh,
him
yeah.
there, you
Yeah.
know. So
I was,
go ahead.
it was quite funny though, because the next day, I got up and Doug was in the basement. That's where his litter box was. So he was cleaning out his litter stuff and everything. I woke up and I couldn't find my glasses because the night before, I don't know who the hell knows where I put them, but I'm always losing them. Like every day I get up and I can't find them. And so I said I always say to Kevin, help me find my glasses.
Right.
And I look for them and then I think, and then all of a sudden he finds them for me. Like he's always just, oh yeah, they're right there.
Right.
And then, so Wednesday morning, I got up and I couldn't find my glasses. So I said, come on, Kevin, help me find my glasses. And couldn't find them. Thought, well, whatever. So I go down the basement and I get this feeling from Kevin. He's saying, look, I'm with Smudge now. I'm looking after Smudge.
Find your own damn glasses, Mom.
You got to get somebody else to find your glasses today. And so I said to Doug,
awesome.
You haven't seen my glasses, have you? And he says, yeah, they're on the counter upstairs. And there they were.
That's
And
hilarious.
so,
He's
yeah,
appointed
and so
somebody else.
I had a couple of dreams about Smudge, and I had this dream about Smudge last night. And I had a dream about Kevin the night before. And the dream about Kevin was that he was 28, or 27 and a half. I've never dreamt about him being the age he would have been.
And he was showing you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then my dream about Smudge was he was like he wasn't skinny, he had all this furs, he looked great, he looked the prime of his life. And I don't know who I was with, but I said, girls, can't you see Smudge? He's here. And whoever it was said, no, I can't see him. And I said, well, he's right there. And he's right there. And I could pet him and feel him and, smell him and everything. And so, I mean, I think I had such a rough weekend. And I think part of it was that I kept thinking to myself, don't be crying. This is stupid. You got to stop, but I realized I had to do what I had to do for myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know?
You have to move through the grief.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether people think it's stupid or not, you have to move through the grief, you know.
And everybody I met were very, very sympathetic and empathetic. And I hung around with cat people and dog people and, so.
Yeah. What I love is that they were both literally already showing you like, okay, Mom, move through your grief, but like we're not gone. We're literally right here.
Yeah.
So you get very vivid dream visits, then it sounds like.
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
And that's the thing, guys. When you get communication, it's going to be up to you to really program your brain to like, that is communication. So you have to shift your brain from the lack of them, right? And the lack of their physical to, oh, wait a minute, but I'm in contact, right? and you're blessed in that, Lynn, because like Leaf would rather eh, fly open all of my kitchen counters and cabinets and drop all my dishes to the ground and have them shatter than come in a damn dream visit for me. Like the kid is so stubborn with it. And he's so stingy with it too. And it's funny because I'll dream visit with lots of other dead people. You know, my friend Sean that, you know, died 20 years ago, he'll pop in and visit me and Leaf's just like, too busy, mom, too busy. So it's really awesome that you get those. There was a time in my journey that I would have been super envious of you, but now I know, like, for those of you that don't get dream visits, they come when they're supposed to come, right? But I think that's a great way for your communication. I love that Smudge was in like the prime of his life, and I love that Kevin showed you his current age, because I remember one of the big things for me in grief was, you know, Leaf left body when he was 16. And so it was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna see what he looks like as a grown man, right? And I was telling this to a friend of mine whose daughter had passed 20 years ago as a toddler, and she said, you're gonna know, Nikki. And she's not a super spiritual person either. And she said, he's gonna show you. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? But Leaf has shown me. The few occasions I get it, you know, my annual dream visit that I get, you know, he will show me, usually in the dream he'll start out as younger and then he'll show me his current age, so I do get to know. And then if you think about it, guys, I've seen people in body that look like what Leaf would have looked like still in body at his age, so I know that Leaf also sends that my way so I can see it. So you know, you have discount nothing when you, like in that instance, when I see somebody and I'm like, oh, I don't say, oh my God, that's what Leaf would have looked like. I'm like, oh my God, there's Leaf at 24 years old, literally you know, standing in that grocery aisle. And then I thank him. So be sure you thank them, Lynn, too. And I love that he's like, yeah, mom, your glasses are not my problem. I'm playing with my cat. That's hilarious. I love it when they're flippant about it, right? Because we're on this side, like, oh my God, this is so terrible. And they're over there like, dude, chill. This is not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like, not that big of a deal. I used to cuss Leaf and I'd say, that's easy for you to say. Like,
Kevin
you
always used
get,
to say that.
you
Kevin
know,
always used to say that in real life. Not that big a deal. Not that big a deal.
yeah, yeah. So I think that that's great. And it's good, Lynn, that you're moving through the grief of it. I mean, here's the deal, guys. Anytime a human being has a loss of any type, and I'm talking about divorce, breakup of a friendship, breakup of a boyfriend, uh, loss of, like, if you lose a house or you lose a car, anytime humans experience loss of any type, there's going to be grief that we have to move through. Now, it's different layers and it's different levels and it's different nuances, but you know, we're getting ready to move out of the house we've been in for 2 years. And it's not a super, I mean, I like this house, but I didn't like fall in love with it. But I'm having a little melancholy, just like, oh, like now I'm not gonna be, you know, I don't drive down here. I only drive to the mini mall, and I just started doing that. That's like, what is it, Kathy? 3 blocks away. Um,
Yes,
and
literally.
I've just started doing that. And so I was like, oh, I'm kind of sad because now I'm not gonna have them, you know, now I can't run and get Bloody Mary stuff on my own if I want a Bloody Mary. That's what I did last night. But so anytime you have a loss of any kind, a loss of a job, I had a job you know, in my prime that I thought I know it was my behavior job when I was working with behavior kids. And you know, I was completely devoted to that school and completely devoted to that administration and, you know, public school administration. Boy, howdy, there's some politics there. And, you know, Nikki she doesn't fit in well with politics and red tape. So, when I lost that job, I was devastated. I had a full on nervous breakdown. Now I know that that was grief, right? But back then I didn't realize that I was having grief over that. So don't ever discount whatever grief you need to feel for whatever reason. It could be the loss of a car. Say the car that you absolutely love breaks down and you have to get a new car. It might be tainted with sadness because the old car, dependable car that you loved and you knew all its nooks and crannies and spots wasn't going to be in your life anymore. So don't ever discount your grief. It's okay to grieve whatever you need to grieve. you know. I've grieved friends that were not good friends to me, but I grieved the potential I saw in that person. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's a good lesson that we can take with us to show ourselves like it's a very normal reaction to the physical loss of something. That does not negate your spiritual connection to it. The great thing, and this sounds bad, but the great thing about the dead people and the dead animals is that it's only the physical loss. We still get to connect and have a relationship with them. Whereas with friends or spouses or whoever we fall out with, they're just out of the picture from there on, you know? So if you start doing some of that reframing, like, you know, and Kathy and I say the relationship you have with them now doesn't have to be less than, it can actually be more than, because, you know, now, Lynn, you can call on, you know, cats are stubborn as hell. So now you can call on Smudge and you can be right there instead of you having to coax him. I say all the time that Leaf is so much more well-minded out of body than he ever was in body. Like, I can call on him now and he shows up, whereas I may have had to text that kid 75 times to get him to text me damn back, you know? I do that with Omri now. I'm like, hello, hello, hello. I don't have to worry about that with Leaf now because I know that if I need to be in contact with him, I have the tools to sit down and intentionally connect with him. That's another thing for you guys to take away. How many of you guys are intentionally connecting? I'm not talking about just waiting on signs, noticing signs. I'm talking about sitting down with the intention of communicating with your person. You guys are doing that? Good. So, because when you're missing them, it's just like if Omri lived in Missouri and I was missing her, I would pick up the phone and I would call her. It's the same thing. When the physical missing comes, and you can do this, Lynn, with Smudge even. You know, he's good at the dream visits already. And they have pet mediums, you know. Um, too, that can teach you. You can also learn how to communicate with the animals. And so if you're missing them, that's your cue to sit down and connect, whether it be through pendulum or guided meditation or automatic writing or dowsing rods. Or if it's really, really strong, I don't do this. Well, if I really get, like when I was having my 1% of grief around Leaf's birthday this year, I set up a medium reading with Karina, you know, and I don't get medium readings a lot anymore. She's the only medium reading I've had all year. But used to, if it got really, really bad and I couldn't feel like I could get into a space to connect, I would get a medium reading. Now, having said that, there are people out there that get like medium addicted too, and you have to be leery of that. You don't want to, you know, you don't need, we're not meant to get a reading like every week. The whole purpose and goal is for you to learn to connect on your own. But you can connect with Smudge, Lynn. I mean, he's already shown you, like, crossed over grandma right here with Kevin. You know, sometimes I get really pissed at my dogs and I'm like, Leaf, are you like, do you need any of these dogs? Is it time? Are you wanting to take care of them? I say that. I would have grief, but you know. So I think you're getting great grief, you know, great communication with them, Lynn. I think that's awesome. And that's what you want to lean into. So you let the wave come, right? And then you shift. This is the key, you guys, because we don't want to bypass the grief. You need to be moving that energy out. You need to get it up and out of you, because if you don't, it turns into icky poison, anger, rage, bitterness, resentment. Like that's what pain will turn to. Sadness personified, when it grows, it turns ugly, right? And I'm sure you guys have all met people like this. I've met people like this that just are not nice people because their losses have just, it's never been dealt with, right? So you want to openly grieve it. And then after that wave comes, because it comes in waves, you intentionally shift. This is why I told you guys to write out your truth on a note card, especially during holidays. Put that note card in your pocket, because if you're having a grief wave, you can move through it and then you can pull out that note card and reiterate your truth to yourself. Okay, because how do we program the brain to our new truth? Repetition, repetition, repetition. Drive it home, drive it home, drive it home. So, like Lynn, for you, when you're moving through the grief with Smudge, you're going to purge that out and then you're going to go back to your truth. Well, he's already shown me he's not gone anywhere. He's with Kev. They're doing great. Kevin's, preoccupied with finally having his cat in his form now. And so then you do the shift. You don't bypass the grief, but there's a big difference because if you don't do the shift, you may spiral all the way down into the grief where you become it for a while again, right? That doesn't mean you can't crawl back out of that. You absolutely can. But if you get really, really good at that intentional shift after the grief wave comes, what you're going to find is the grief waves eventually stop. When that happened for me, I actually got frustrated because, I wanted the grief waves to stop. I wanted the incessant pain to stop and the bawling and the heaving and the wailing and the crying because I did that for about 2 years. And I wanted it to stop. I wanted it to stop. Well, then it got to where I got my truth. I was in my knowing. And there were times that I felt like I wanted to cry, but I was so ingrained with my truth that it was like I would have one tear and I'm like, what are you like? What are you doing? And then my brain would shift and it's like, okay. And I wouldn't cry. So I very rarely cry. Like even now, if I have my 1% come, like I may get like a little watery eyes and then it's poof, it's gone because Leaf's like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, I'm right here. And he would tell me that first 2 years when I was working in like between year 2 and 3, I would like try to spiral into a grief wave. And I would hear him say, are we really doing this again? Like he would say that to me. And I'm like, okay, I'll shift to my truth. I'll sit down and connect. So that's the way you move through these. If you don't do the intentional shift, you're going to have more pain. That doesn't mean you bypass the pain though. You have to learn to let that pain out and then do the intentional shift, right? Because if you don't do the intentional shift, then comes the spiral. And then if things are going on in your outside life, grief becomes the default. Then Lynn could have been like, and I think you were for a moment, Lynn. I don't think it stayed very long, but it's like, and my cat died, and my car's running rough, and the fridge needs fixed, and my kid died. So then you pile onto yourself all these things that are unrelated, but grief becomes the default. And you guys know people like this. You've seen people online, I know, that are like, well, my third cousin's best friend's aunt died, and then my second cousin died, and then my neighbor's wife died. Like they'll list off like every single solitary person, whether they were close to him or not, that they are perceiving as some sort of loss out of their life. And like that is their narrative, right? That is their narrative. And so we have to be very cognizant of separating it and not letting it become the default, because sometimes it's not about grief. I've worked with people and they've been like, Nikki, I've got all this going on and I'm having grief waves. And I'm like, you're not actually having grief waves. You got all this going on, which is completely separate from your grief, but grief has become your default. And it's a very natural default, you guys. So you have to learn to separate those things from the default and figure out if it's actual grief about your child or not. Does that make sense? It's a slippery
Yeah, for
slope.
sure.
Well, and I know for me, when we had to have our dog put to sleep after Sophie died, and this was, mind you, after Sophie had told me in a couple of different medium readings, Mom, I'm ready for my lion, because that's what she always called our dog, was her lion. And I would say, yeah, no, you can't have the dog. I'm sorry about your fucking luck. You can't have the dog. The dog has to stay with me. And then when we had to have our dog put to sleep, I felt like it was just another piece of Sophie that was being taken away. And I was losing another connection with Sophie, when in reality that wasn't true at all, because I still had the same connection with Sophie that I had before the dog had to be put to sleep. But yeah, I had to really explore the grief around connecting, so because I was so connected to that physical with the dog and Sophie, that I started to discount the spiritual connection that I had for a little while. So don't let yourself fall into that trap.
Well, and that's a very real piece of it too. And I think, Lynn, that's something that we were messaging about. I said it probably feels there's a piece of it that you have to look at all of it, right? There's probably a piece of it that feels like another piece of the physical connection to Kevin has now been lost, right? So that feels very real. That's a lot of the reason why a lot of you probably still have their bedrooms up. Who here still has their bedroom up? Okay. So going through the bedroom. Yeah, Andrea, you moved. So, I was lucky in the fact that I had to move within a month. I didn't even realize what was happening at that point, but Leaf was actually going through his stuff with me, and I was actually already having a telepathic link with him, but I just thought that I was going crazy because I didn't even know, I couldn't even convince myself he was dead yet, right? But I was hearing him say, put that in that bag, mom. This goes to this friend, this. So but that's part of like why parents keep the bedrooms up, because you feel like putting that stuff away, separating that stuff. Brenda knows because she's recently started going through Dakota's stuff, and it's been like 10 years. But once you get further into your truth, what you're going to find is you can slowly wean yourself off those things being your connection to them. Like I have a trunk, I have a big, like old Titanic steamer trunk, and I have a hope chest, and the stuff of Leafs that we kept is in those trunks. Now, it wasn't initially the stuff that we kept. Initially, I had, a whole shelf and a whole wall, and it had the last Burt's Bees lip balm that he used. It had, a baseball glove of his. It had a pair of OU gloves. I slept in his OU hoodie every night. I carried his ashes around my, I engulfed myself in him. Now that OU hoodie hangs on, I haven't touched it in months. When we moved to Florida, I actually, at that point, we were 2 years out. I actually went through like, I kept way too much of my kids' shit when they were young, man. Like the school papers, like ridiculous hoarding of their school papers, like a scribble on a paper. Why am I keeping that? So, in order to downsize through a move, again, I went through all that, and I actually did a burn release with it. I did this not long ago. You guys may have seen, I had kept his memorial flowers in a shadow box, and they've been in there for 7 years. I've never hung the shadow box up. I've just toted it from state to state to state with me. And I thought, I want to do something with that shadow box. And so I took those memorial flowers out, and I went outside and I did a burn release with them. And I said, the energy that these flowers hold, I want released from me. I want released from my environment. This is not what keeps me connected, because everything around that stuff, especially like memorial flowers and stuff, there's trauma energy in there. The energy of the emotions surrounding things imprints onto items. And so I released myself of that. It was super free. But so if you ever get to the point where you decide you want that piece put away, know that it's okay. Leaf was very adamant in telling me, like, I don't need that shit, mom. I got all of that and more here. Like, I have literally everything in the blink of an eye that I could have ever wanted or could ever possibly want. I still wanted things that he had touched physically, right? So I still have his last pair of stinky teenage 16-year-old boy tennis shoes. They're in that trunk. I still have the lip balm. It's in that trunk. I have some things that were in his nightstand. I still have some of his t-shirts. I don't have enough of his clothes to like make one of the quilts or anything like that out of. I have his last teddy bear. I still have both. This is gross, but I have like my kids, where the umbilical cord falls off. I have those. How disgusting is that? But I trimmed all of that down, and it sits in a trunk. And I have one small shelf in my house that has he has multiple urns. So it has I call it, one is his portable urn that I can take somewhere with me if I want to, and one is his fancier urn, which is not even fancy. But And that's what I have now. And that's what stays up. For me, it became about like, as I leaned more into my spiritual daily relationship with him, those physical things became much less important. They were just like, he was just like, put it away, mom. It's like, you've seen that poem where the kid grows up and they're like, put the toys away, put my toys away. I've grown up now. It was kind of like that because he led me into this thought pattern that he had not died, he had left his body. He had actually outgrown his body. Just like he had done as a baby, he outgrew it and became a toddler. Just as he had done as a middle schooler, as a teenager, he outgrew that body. So that's a really great shift that you guys can do because look at our bodies. We're all in these vessels and they're all getting old. I know I don't look like I looked at 18 and I am having a hard time with that. I would tell you, I would really like to look like I'm 23 again, but we all outgrow points in our bodies, right? So if you start to look at it as they didn't die, they didn't leave, they simply outgrew that body. The spirit became too big for that body to house. That was a huge shift for me. How many of you can feel the light in that shift? Does that shift feel lighter to you? It's a pretty good, it was a very profound shift for me. I even wrote a piece on it that I read at Warrior Week year before last. I'll have to find it and see if I can post it. But that is a very huge, profound shift. What you want to do is find those shifts, and you have to, what do you have to do, guys? Repeat, 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 repeat. So when the wave comes, cry that wave out, and then you say, okay, that's released. All that's happened is he outgrew his body. All that's happened is she outgrew her body, right? And if that feels like a good shift, if it resonates for you, write it down and institute that. Put it within your daily healing. Your daily mantras, your daily thoughts, your daily words that you're using surrounding your grief, surrounding your healing, surrounding your daily connection. That's what helps open your awareness. Those words, guys, don't just dig a new neural pathway. They also open up your awareness to your children more and more. Okay, that's part of the earth piece of opening up your awareness. Does anybody have questions so far? Comments?
I'll chime in here.
Chime in, pigs.
So today's my mom's 1 year free from her body.
1
And
year free and new, Peg's mom.
yeah, and I know she's up there dancing with my Mikey and my brother, and and this morning I went and saw my grandkids, and of course I come home and I'm sick. But anyway, I woke up early this morning and I was like, all right, let me just try and get back to sleep. So fell back asleep, and of course I had a dream my mom was in, So she's always with me, It's just that the coming up to the day is where
That's all, it,
where the I get I lose,
cellular memory kicks in.
yeah, I lose my shit and I you know
Right.
so
And that's normal. Let's talk about cellular memory. So those of you that have, I think almost everybody, Debbie, are you a year out yet or just over a year out? Everybody here is at least a year out, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So I experienced cellular memory. I really started working with changing my cellular memory probably in year one, but I didn't know that's what I was doing yet. At 1 year, but I consistently started working on it. So cellular memory is when your body remembers. Your muscles have a memory. It's like when you wear a ring on a finger all the time and then you take that ring off and you can still feel that ring. That's muscle memory. That's cellular memory. It's body memory. So when you've been through a traumatic event, your body remembers. So just like Peggy said, the days leading up. The days leading up, your body is gearing for a trauma that it knows that the date is coming. Like you can forget the date, but your body remembers because your body went into complete and total chaos when the trauma occurred. Okay. Like it is stored within your cells. There is an energy within there that remains. So what you need to do on those days is you have to start changing up cellular memory, because here's what happens, you guys. It's like if you're in the middle of a PTSD flashback, one of the quickest ways to get out of a flashback, and this sounds harsh, but is to smack yourself. Smack yourself, like right, pop yourself right on the cheek. The reason for that is because within the human brain, a physical pain message is always going to go past an emotional pain message. It will take precedence. Okay. It's why when I have you guys in classes, I've had you guys, and you probably had therapists that will do the rubber band snap. How many of you guys have I made do the rubber band snap in your private sessions? Angie's like, you made me. So it's the same premise. When we practice presence and we do that rubber band snap, it's the same thing, because it's the quickest way to get a neural pathway message in the brain to click. So it's the same thing with cellular memory. If you're just moving through your day on days leading up, or you may have cellular memory on holidays, guys. Christmas is a big cellular memory kick. So as your body is gearing up for this stress, this trauma, this dumping of cortisol in your body, of being triggered into fight or flight and out of the window of tolerance, when that happens, you have to change up the pattern. Okay. So for me, what it looks like is doing new traditions. On Leafs, you guys have seen me post about it. Omri's birthday is the 9th, Leafs anniversary is the 10th, and his birthday is the 20th. September for us in year one, it was all I wanted to listen to was that song, Wake Me Up When September Ends, right? Now, September is my most favorite month. I love the month of September. Dude, my kid died in that month, and it's his birthday 10 days later. I should dread that month. I don't, because I changed it up. It's my most favorite month now. We change it up by we go on a new adventure. We bring Leaf along with us. Like this year we took a ferry ride out to Caladesi Island. Kathy was here for Omri's birthday. On Leaf's, I don't even remember what we did on Leaf's birthday. I honestly can't remember, but I enjoy September. I don't experience cellular memory with it anymore, because I make sure to change it up. So if I do experience cellular memory, I know that I can work on it somatically. I can do tapping. I can go dancing. I can work with my vagus nerve. As simple as gargling. You can gargle or hum to stimulate the vagus nerve. You can do breath work. It's going to be up to you to change the cellular memory, though, because the more years that you sit in that cellular memory and letting it come, guess what happens? The more it's ingrained into your body's memory, right? It's just like the more years you wear your ring, it's going to take, I've worn this is my Leaf ring. I've worn it for literally over 7 years. If I take this ring off, it's probably going to be a good 7 years before this finger feels normal again, because I've had it on for 7 years and there's a memory imprint within my body. So that's what cellular memory is. And it's something that most people don't consider. But if you look at it, how many of you, when your kid's angel date is coming up, anywhere from 3 months to 2 weeks out, is your body just like, that is cellular memory. That is the power of cellular memory. So, and how many of you feel like you're having, I know Patty is, how many of you feel like you're having it with holidays? Are you feeling it yet with holidays? Okay, so we need to change it up, right? Changing up the thoughts is huge. The intentional shift is huge, but the body really does keep the score. And I know, Becky, you've been reading this. It really does keep the score, and it keeps the score on trauma hardcore. That's what PTSD is. It's a very visceral, traumatic imprint into the map of the brain. Okay. And it's a tricky one, because I did not see Leaf, right? He was at a party. I didn't see him die. I didn't see any of that. I am very blessed. I feel very blessed. And I tell him, like, for those of you that found your kids or were with your kids, like, I feel very blessed that I was not there with Leaf, right? Because that's a kicker. But I had imaginary flashbacks of being there. Okay. So the brain is a crazy little thing. And so I actually, and I would have flashbacks about I had to be taken to the hospital almost immediately after because I had to be taken in to be sedated. And I got rolled in and I was screaming, is he here? Is he here? Is this where he was brought? Like it was not a good scene, right? And so in year one, I was having flashbacks of being back in the hospital. The ER doctor was a terrible prick. Like the dude does not even need to be practicing medicine. What he said to me, he came into the room and he said, I'm trying to get, like, you have to be still so we can get you sedated. But yeah, your kid is here. He's downstairs in the morgue. Would it help you if you saw him? That is what this doctor, while this mother who has just found out her kid died, this is how this man treated me. And that was a little bit traumatizing in and of itself because I needed comfort and compassion at that. My family was on their way from Missouri. I was with a friend in South Dakota. That's who took me to the ER. And funny enough, I actually heard Leaf scream mom while I was in there, but I thought that I was hallucinating at that point. But so in it was a little after year one, and I was just sitting on the edge of my bed, and all of a sudden I have this full immersive flashback, and I was back in the hospital. I was wailing and screaming, and I had just enough wits about me that I could yell for Tom. And he came in and he said, what's happening? I said, I'm there. You have to get me out of here. You have to get me out of here. And he really just grabbed onto me and he like shook me and he said, you're right. He like did something visceral with my body to get me back into my body and being present. And it stopped it. It stopped that flashback. And so after that point, light bulb went off for Nikki. Like, oh, I can interrupt these. Like, I can interrupt these. If I can become aware of when they're happening and where I'm at, I can interrupt these. And I literally worked on my own flashbacks. I had a client once that she did find her child, and it was an extremely horrific, traumatic scene. Like he had to be ID'd by the dental records type of scene. And we worked on her flashbacks for a good 2.5 years. And just through being aware of it, we used rubber band, we used immediate tapping, just switching up where she was at in her body and like tapping here or like smack taps enough to sting a little bit. And that's how we initially started working on her flashbacks. So cellular memory is very, very active part of your physiology, you guys. But the good news is you can change it up. You can change it up. How many of you are working with cellular memory or have worked with it and are using some of those tools to change it up? Ange, I know you have because we've done private, so you've done some of the work. Christine, you're doing it. Has anybody else worked with cellular memory and doing it? Kim, you have? Kimberly? Okay, awesome. So it's going to be one of your most powerful tools because until you change it and you change it consistently, it took me, I'm 7 years out with Leaf and a little over, I think it was 7 years in September. So it took me a good solid 4 years of changing up my body, my mind, and my spirit on his angel day for me to be where I am now. I'm like, yeah, September, awesome. That's a huge shift, you guys. But it took a long time to do, and I had to be aware of me actively working on it every time it came up. This is something we talk about in the trigger shifting class, which Kathy and I we haven't even ran it in over a year, but the trigger shifting class specifically deals in cellular memory as well, because it's literally walking into triggers and using your truth and certain other tools to change it up, right? To change up the cellular memory associated with the trigger, to change up the thought pattern associated with the trigger. And we work with that with the mind, body, spirit. So I'm here to tell you guys that, yeah, cellular memory is a bitch, but it can be worked with. Every single solitary trigger that you have can be worked with where it's no longer a trigger to you. Like, it doesn't bother me to see, Leaf's friends get married and go on about their lives anymore. I can move his urn and it doesn't phase me. I can move his hoodie, doesn't phase me. I can see intact intact families together. It doesn't phase me. Like, I literally worked through my triggers and the cellular memory associated with those triggers and the thought patterns associated with those triggers, one by one by one by one. Now I'm working on triggers that aren't associated with Leaf at all, that are associated with abuse that I went through prior to Leaf. So that's how it's done. So how many of you again are experiencing like cellular memory stuff? Even if it, I mean, okay. So if you are, I want you to, the first step is awareness. Get into your body and see how it's reacting. Your body has a guidance system, right? You have within your nervous system is understimulation, which is still dysregulated, overstimulation, which is still dysregulation, or a window of tolerance. Right now, where's your vibration at? Are you all feeling pretty calm and laid back right now? This is what's called the window of tolerance. You're in your window of tolerance right now. Okay. Now, if Christine's in her window of tolerance and she gets a phone call that something has happened and or she's fired or something has happened, she immediately leaves her window of tolerance and her nervous system goes into dysregulation, fight or flight. Okay. So you have to become really aware of where your nervous system's sitting at. Dysregulation, understimulation is going to look like fawn. So that can be people pleasing. It can feel like depression. It can feel like numbness, disassociation. All of those are nervous system dysregulation. That means you're out of your window of tolerance. Here's the funny thing about the nervous system. Like, I live with a dysregulated nervous system most of the time now because of the chronic abuse that I went through when I was married to the kid's dad. So I have behaviors that, because of that dysregulation, have manifested. I can be very untrusting. I don't have the best discernment. I don't trust my own judgment. Like, there are actual emotional behavior patterns that also come into alignment with dysregulation. So the way you work on that is you start becoming aware of your nervous system. Awareness is really hard. Self-awareness is really hard. But if you start to notice how many of you are breath holders? I'm a breath holder. When I'm dysregulated, I don't breathe right. I didn't know that for a very long time about myself until I have the awareness of it. I'm like, oh, I'm literally like not breathing. Like, where it got to the point where I would get dizzy, I'm like, I'm holding my breath until I get dizzy. Like, it's like, 15 seconds or something. So I have to very mindfully breathe a lot of the time. Shoulder clenching. How many of you walk around with your shoulders pinned to your ears? I do. That's nervous system dysregulation. It's a very mild form of being in fight or flight. I mean, really, the whole world is pretty much in dysregulation, probably 90% of the time, quite honestly, because we're bigger, better, faster, bigger, better, faster, bigger, better, faster. But if you will start getting in touch with where your nervous system is at, and I go from overstimulation to understimulation. My window of tolerance as I'm working on this, doing my self-work with my tools, is getting bigger. When I'm in understimulation, you guys, and it has nothing to do with grief, I am lethargic. I am exhausted to the point of I can sleep 18 hours straight without batting an eye. It appears to look like depression because I'm disinterested. And I'll go through bouts of it. I go through bouts of understimulation. And then when I'm overstimulated, I'm grouchy, I'm bitchy, I'm irritable, I'm trigger happy, like, close the door wrong and I'm all over you. So if you start looking at your patterns of behavior and looking at where your window of tolerance is, you're going to figure out cellular memory patterns and you can start working with them and you can break those. But it takes self-awareness. And as you guys are all learning, just awareness of your thoughts and your words is difficult, right? So when you add in being aware of where your body's at within all of those behaviors and emotions, it takes it to another level. But that's where you can start to change it up. So what I've started doing when I notice that I'm in understimulation, I make myself get up and do something that makes me feel productive, and I'll immediately start having a shift. You have to break the pattern, right? If I notice that I'm overstimulated, then I will go, like if Omri comes home and this is an extremely dysregulated child, because of her childhood and her trauma. I did better today. Like she woke up triggered, and her being triggered will usually immediately trigger me. Instead, decided not to take it personal. I decided to stand in my own vibration. Literally, I started saying, I'm going to stand in my own vibration. Big Mike, come help me stand in my own vibration. I don't have to get sucked into this. I did some deep breathing. I went into the bathroom and I gargled, because I know that will calm dysregulation, because it stimulates the vagus nerve. So when you notice that you're in dysregulation, either under or over, you have to change it up. And when you're in the loop of cellular memory with milestone days like anniversaries or just general triggers or holidays, you have to change it up, you guys. So instead of rotely going through your morning, change up your morning routine. Maybe you get outside and you run outside and you get barefoot in the grass for 2 seconds. You do something to change up the positional stance of your body, your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Does that make sense to everyone? And that truly is how you work with cellular memory. Then on top of that, you add in things like breath work, things like tapping, things like dancing. Just literally, if you're doing your dishes, dancing while you're doing your dishes. Add in things like the megahertz, the binaural beats. You add in, like at any given day in my first 2 to 3 years, I'm not kidding you guys, on an hourly basis, I was using probably 10 tools in my toolbox. That is what my day consisted of, being so present and aware that I was using plethora of the tools, because I'm a big emotional baby, and I was like, I have to get this freaking pain out of me. This is terrible. So that's how you want to do that. So write those down. I want you to come up with a plan of what works for you. Okay. Maybe the tapping. I know the tapping was really good for some of you the other day, and you can find tapping on everything, guys. You can find tapping for grief. You can find tapping for trauma. You can find tapping for joy. You can find tapping for physical, like physical pains. You can find tapping to induce healing. Like, get on the Google and just type in what you're looking for, and there will be a tapping video. Andrea beat me to it. She posted the binaural beats in her gratitudes and affirmations. There's your list, guys. Pick out 1 or 2 of those, start working with it. When you're communicating with your kids, use the one that is for connection to spirit. Utilize those. When things are tense around here, I use the Google machine in my kitchen, and I play binaural. I play 528 binaural beats off YouTube, and I'll blare it through the whole house. If my dogs are acting like assholes, I'll blare it through the whole house. You know what I mean? Because if you take your spiritual tools and you start utilizing them in your daily life, that's where you see change, because your energy is flowing into that healing, into that change, and it's becoming more natural for you. And that's where it picks up momentum. That's where it picks up momentum. Does anybody have any questions so far? Yeah, Kim.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying all this. This is information that, like, up until now, the tools that I was using, my counselors and stuff, really weren't, educated on. So it's working for me. But the signs and stuff, I think my son is probably like many of your children. Sometimes they're stubborn. My son was 24 when he crossed, and he always said, Mom, I can't make it too easy for you, before then. And he always like would push me to work out, and just like, oh my God, I'm older than you, and just all that. So I didn't think
Mhm.
like when I'm in a group reading, he's not going to be the kid. He's going to let someone else who's really mom needs a reading step in front of him. That's
Mhm.
just what he's going to do. But when you made me think that where I work, I'm a nurse, and I just started there, and down the hall, I was like, that looks just like my son down there. And there was an RN, a nurse that was the same height as my son, looks just like him. And for like a couple weeks, I just like got the tingles when I would see him. I met him, believe it or not, his name was Austin. And then like a month rolled on and he had gotten another job in a management level. And we talked a lot. And I told him the story of my son. And he happened to be military as my son. And he said, Kim, I wish you had told me that story sooner. Because I said, would you do me a favor and give me a hug? Because I hadn't felt a hug like that, like those big
Mhm.
arms around you over 6 foot. And he said, Kim, I wish you had told me this sooner. I would have hugged you every time I saw you. And then he was gone, but to his new job. But when I think about that now, I'm like, that was a sign because
Well, and it wasn't just a sign. Here's the deal, guys. Don't get so caught up in calling everything a sign, because then you'll kind of get used to that. You have to really lean in and be like, that was my kid here communicating with me.
Yeah.
So when we constantly call it a sign, it can lose the actual depth of like
Right.
what
Right.
is actually happening.
Yeah.
So that's a huge communication. It's a huge orchestration. Like they orchestrate these things. They put them
Right.
in our path. So that is huge, Kim. And
Yeah.
you bring up a good point. Leaf was our hugger. Omri and I are not huggers. Those of you that have met me in person know that like you're gonna be like, Nikki, can I hug you? And I may say, no, you cannot hug me. Like I'm not a hugger.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. I'm getting better. But Leaf forced me to hug, right? And so Omri and I are trying to become huggers. It's very much out of our comfort zone. But one of the things that I did, because he was the only person that I like allowed to, engulf me in a hug.
Right.
Um, and I know hugs are one of the things that everybody misses about their kiddos. So have a hug with them. You can, I would take, and I've had clients do this. I will tell them to get a blanket or something of their kids, wrap it around them, and then in your eye, you close your eyes and you visualize that pressure being from them. And that brings them in, and you will experience a spirit hug from them, you know? So you're blessed, Kim, because you got to do it with a real live person that literally had your kid's name. Like you can't get more blatant than that. You know what I mean? So that's huge. Don't don't minimize the communications you get from your kiddos, guys. Like for now, Leaf and I's communication is normal. So it takes a lot to like wow me. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot to wow me. Because we have a normal daily relationship now. But especially where you guys are at, do not minimize the communication that you're getting with your kids. Like Peggy, you said, I had a dream about my mom last night. Mind your words. Instead, say, I spent time with mom last night. I had a dream visit with her. So even in those small shift in your words, because let's think about this. I had a dream about my mom last night. Do you feel the separation from that verbiage versus I spent time with my mom in a dream visit last night? Which one feels connected?
Yeah, I usually say that it's a dream
I
visit,
I know you do. I was just using you as that as an example. So
but it
mind your
definitely makes a difference how you word it.
It does. It does. So in that simple piece of wording, well, I had a dream about, or I spent time with them in the dream realm, there's two completely different energies there. Him,
Right.
when you say it was a sign from Austin versus, and I'm not saying don't say it was a sign, because that's pretty much the universal verbiage, right? But when you say it was a sign from Austin versus saying I spent time with my son embodied in another human being, which one feels closer to you? Which one feels more connected? So watch your verbiage on this. And I'm going to point this out because I see on your thing, guys, how many of you are saying the forever age, the age they left their bodies? I used to do it. I did it in year one. How many of you say forever? Like Kim's thing says Austin, F24, forever 24. How many of you are still using that verbiage?
No.
If you are,
I
I'm
stopped
gonna
doing it.
encourage,
Yeah.
and I did too. If you're using that verbiage, I encourage you not to, because guess what? They still exist. So he's not forever 24. And Lynn just proved this to us, because Kev's like, hey, look at me in my 27 and a half, 28-year-old body. So I stopped when I figured out that Leaf still existed, and that he didn't stop existing at 16 when he left his body. I stopped saying he was forever 16. It's a super trendy thing to say in the bereaved community, right?
Right.
We have these weird trendy shit that we
Yeah.
say that's so painful, don't we? It's so weird to me.
Right.
I mean, and I did it too in the first couple of years, like, oh, the Ugly Shoes Club and the club nobody wants to like. We say the weirdest things that collectively feed each other's pain, that are so trendy in the community. And the forever age is one of those. And dude, I did it. I did it when I didn't know any better. But when I knew better, I stopped doing it, because let's think about this. Kim Woodruff, when you say and you sign off Austin forever 24, that's a little painful. Like, it's feeding his existence stopped when he was 24 years old. But if you say Austin, who's now, maybe he's 28, I don't know how old Austin is now, but Austin's 28 now. He's not forever 24 then, is he? He's 28 now. So if we don't put them in those boxes of these bereaved community things, that they're so easy to get latched into, man, because it's just common verbiage. And Kathy and I try to stay on top of it, and people get mad at us in Healing Warrior Parents. But we're there to offer shifts. But like, I have offered that shift for people that they always sign up. And boy, I've had my ass chewed up one side and down the other from bereaved parents that are like, I'm not going to stop saying that. But let's think about it. You have to start looking at your words. Even in some of the tiniest words, you figure out if you're feeding your truth or if you're feeding your pain. Kim Woodruff, in your truth, is Austin forever 24? He still exists. No, he's not. So stop signing off with Austin forever 24, because he's not. It doesn't feed your truth if you say that anymore, because that goes against everything that he's shown you so far. He's like, yeah, I'm still here, invisible with my superpowers. So watch your words. How many of you are using your kids, talking about your kids in present tense now? This is a big one that we teach in classes. Good. So like, if I'm talking about Leaf when he was 2 years old, of course I'll say, when Leaf was 2, he used to do this. But when I talk about Leaf as in his existence, I use him in present tense. I do not speak of Leaf in past tense, because that closes the door on him. Anything you do to deny the fact that your kids are here, I'm not talking about grief waves, because grief waves are the normal part of processing the physical loss of them, right? But here's a kicker on that. The closer you get connected into the spiritual daily relationship, the less you're gonna even you're even gonna recognize the physical loss. Like, it doesn't even register to me that Leaf is dead. You know what I mean? The whole wide world thinks Leaf is dead, but I know that Leaf is not dead. So you have to start using verbiage that supports your truth. Okay? Even if people look at you like you're fucking crazy. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Rita, look at Rita. She still talks. Is Rita delusional? She still talks like Patrick is just right here with her. Do we need her to see a doctor? No. It doesn't matter what they think, because they don't know what you know. Okay? They don't know what you know. So use words to support your truth. You guys become hyper vigilantly aware of what words you're using, right? It's okay
Or writing.
or writing. Absolutely.
Because I sign all of my birthday cards with his name on it too.
Absolutely.
Of course, they think I'm pretty fucking crazy, but
Oh yeah, they'll say, oh, that's just Andrea's coping mechanism. Well, whatever you think it is. But like, on gifts, I still say from Nikki, Tom, Omri, and Leaf. From Nikki, Tom, Omri, and Leaf. Nikki, Tom, Omri, and Leaf. you know? So it is, all of that stuff feeds your truth. And when you're walking this journey, you want to feed your truth as much as you can, because the more you feed that truth, the more you're digging a neural pathway to it. And that's how you go from hope to belief to actual knowing. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody
I
have any
I
questions so
I
far?
got caught up in counting the months, counting the days,
Mhm.
counting. And some smart
Wow.
cookie said, "Stop counting." And I was like, "Wow, that's the thing I can do. Stop counting." So I did.
Did we tell you to stop
You
counting?
you did.
Yeah.
Just
Sophie,
stop
Sophie
counting.
told me to stop counting in the
Mhm.
very first medium reading I ever had at about 6 months out. Sophie told the medium says to me, calculating, do you work with numbers as a job? She's saying stop calculating. And I'm
Wow.
like, no, I don't. I don't understand what that means. And she clarified it for the medium. Mom, stop calculating and
Yeah.
stop, because I was one of those people. I was counting days, hours, minutes. I mean, I was like down to the fucking second how long it had been.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Sophie told me in no uncertain terms, stop calculating.
And that's a big thing in the bereaved parent community too. You know, that one and another day closer to you. How many of you do this?
I
Another day closer, another
I
year closer to you. Does that feel good when you say it? Tell me, like, does that feel good
Yeah.
to you? No,
it,
it feels
it
fucking painful. Stop saying it, you guys.
I usually it
Yes.
doesn't feel bad to me because I know I'll be there. So it's
Yeah,
like
but here's the
bad.
deal. If your point of power is in the present moment and that's where you have a daily relationship and awareness of your kid, if you're saying I'm 47 today, I'm another year closer, then they're like, "Hey, how about today?" Cuz like I'm right over here. So you have to really look at these things.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
certain
all in between that, you know.
there's certain things we say. I try to say nothing. This is where I got to with it. I tried to say nothing that would, how do I word this? I would try to say zero words or zero phrases that would deny Leaf's now existence. So if I kept saying, and my mom, the other day, my mother did a post that said another year closer to my grandson. I'm like, God, really? And I don't even broach it with her because she's old and like they're so programmed. I'm just like, God, okay. But I stopped saying that because if I'm saying I'm another year closer to Leaf and he's over here like, am I fucking chopped liver right now? Like, hello. It
Right.
closes down your awareness because your awareness is in the now with them, right? Your awareness is in the now with them. That's why the count is detrimental. If you're counting, you're literally counting the days, the months, the seconds, the hours from when your trauma happened.
Yep.
Mhm.
There is
So
no
re
greater way to ingrain and reiterate some trauma into your old cellular memory than to count it down, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the counting it down, and I wrote a big piece somewhere on the countdown that pissed a lot of people off on the on page a few years back too. I need to probably re-up some of those and repost them because when I was really in the thick of it, I had some very powerful pieces that I would write. But
You want to
so
piss some people off again?
well, yeah,
Right.
I inevitably do it. I pissed a lady off the other day with some post on my business page, and it made her mad, and because her child was
Obviously, she's not
murdered.
ready to hear
Well,
it.
and her child was murdered, and that's a freaking tough one, man. And that's
Mhm.
not one I can go into coaching on an open forum business page. Like I need to get this
Right.
woman, and I told her like you can reach out to me and I'll like offer you a session for free, but she never did. But um you guys, you have to, if you want healing to really root and take hold, and you really want the daily palpable relationship like Kathy has with Sophie or like I have with Lee. I've even had mediums say, well, Nikki, you're special. No, I'm not special. I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of parents now, and Kathy and I aren't special, you guys. Our kids are loud, but you know what? All the kids are loud. It's awareness. Awareness is the key. And every time you say the count, or you say, I'm 1 year closer, I'm 1 day closer, or you say, Leafs forever 16, you're tamping down your awareness with the physical reality. This is a relationship that transcends the physical. So you cannot reiterate the physical constantly and expect to have the awareness in the daily relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now you have to eventually integrate it into the physical reality, which is a whole nother level of healing. And that is the integration of the knowing, right? And that gets hard because then you're out in the world and everybody's saying, Kyle's dead. Kyle's dead. Oh, poor him. Kyle's dead. And you have to be like, no, well, no, he's really not dead. And then they're like, oh my God, she's crazy. I mean, it's a whole different ball game all on its own, but it's also very freeing. This is one of the gifts of them leaving body, is for you to be able to step into your truth and live it in your knowing without giving a shit what anybody thinks about it. Let them think you're crazy. Guess what? They got crazy all their own too. I promise you that, So I want you guys as an assignment to look at the words you've been using. Is it reiterating your truth? Is it reiterating your awareness, or is it tamping it down and shutting the door? Here's a very good visual for you. Don't shut the door on your kids. Right now, don't shut the door on your kids. Every time you say forever an age, every time you say I'm 1 day closer, you don't have to be 1 day closer, because you can literally sit down and connect with them right now. Don't shut the door on your kids. Go ahead, Kathy. I see something spilling out of your lips.
No, no.
Oh, you were like, you had duck lips. So, and you have to look at it really closely. And I know it's easy to get into, just the rhythm of the loss and all of that, but you have to, this is where you check in again with your body, with your vibration. Remember, if you haven't written this down, write it down now. Peace equals truth.
Mm-hmm.
Pain equals separation of truth. Those of you that have worked privately with me, how many times have you heard Kim Robinson? How many times have you heard me say this? Angie, how many times? Like, this is the core of it. This is the core of your spiritual remembering. Here's a prime example for those of you guys that haven't worked with me a whole lot. When you say to yourself, my kid is dead and gone, freaking horribly painful, horribly painful. In the next breath, when you say, my kid left body, but is still here with me in a different way, feels completely different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you experience peace with your words and your thoughts, that means you're living in the remembering of what your inner spirit knew before you incarnated. That is your remembering. That is your deep spiritual truth of what your soul knew and knows before it came into this body. When you have painful thoughts, that means you're separated from your inner spirit. It means you're separated from the remembering of what you brought into this incarnation. Does that make sense?
And it all goes back to elevating the relationship you have now, instead of comparing what you have now to what you had before. Because even if your kids were still in body, your relationship with them at different points in their physical life would have differed from the relationship that you had with them when they were 7 years old. I mean, I'm very aware that if Sophie were still in body, I would have a very different relationship with her now. She's 25. She left body when she was 18. Our relationship had already changed when she was 18 from when she was a little kid. And so you can't go back and pine for the before relationship and think that it's better than the relationship you have now. You have to embrace the now relationship and the connection that you have now in order to continue the relationship. You have to,
Yeah.
you can't reject what you got now in favor of what you can't have anymore.
Well, and that's where the empowerment piece comes in, because every single relationship evolves. Just like Kathy was saying, Omri is 22 years old now. Our relationship looks completely different than it looked when she was 19, even. It has evolved. You know, she's 22. I don't know where she's at all the time. You know, she comes and goes in the house as she pleases because she pays rent here. You know, at 19, she didn't pay rent here. Like, she didn't pay rent at 19, but she does at 22. So you have to get logical about it too, because the brain is tricky, you guys. The brain will tell you that your child was the best child on earth and it was a perfect angel and they were never an asshole, and it like exalts them. Oh, guess what? I don't care whose kid, every person's kid here was an asshole at some point, because human beings are assholes at some point. Whether it was if they were colicky as a baby, or they drove their damn car too fast and you always had to buy them tires, or like they trashed their room. Like, that's my kids. They just trashed their freaking rooms, man. Just trash their rooms. Like, it's never clean. Like, in some way, shape, or form, these kids were human beings, right? And you have to allow the relationship to evolve, and you have to be very realistic and logical about it. Like, Lynn, it is, when Lynn gets into missing Kev, well, Kev's 28 years old now. Kev wouldn't be living at home with Lynn anyway. So really, if Kev was in body, Lynn was still going to be missing him. When Kev left body, Kev was away at school, and Lynn missed him before he left body. So your brain will play tricks on you, and you have to think about these things, right? Like, and then you shift it into the narrative and the truth of, you actually can have a closer, more intimate relationship with them now, right? You can have a close, like, Lynn, if Kevin and Smudge were living in the house with you, you wouldn't like say, "Hey, Kevin, I need you to find my glasses," and him be like, "I'm coming right there, Mom." He would have been like, "Woman, like, find your own damn
Oh,
glasses."
yeah, absolutely.
Right? So in those ways, we get to have a more closely intimate connection and relationship with our kids. Like I said, I can call on Leaf, and in my awareness, if my awareness is open, he's going to be right here. I can text Omri right now, and I guarantee she's not texting me back maybe for 3 hours. So you have to really look at, everybody says, well, the physical reality, the physical reality, the physical reality. But when loss occurs, the brain skews physical reality. I was married to an extremely abusive man for 17 years. When I finally left that marriage, the first 2 months, I pined for him, for this asshole that abused me, because my brain only remembered the good stuff for those 2 months. Right? Have we all been through this? The icky boyfriend or the best friend that was a jerk or whatever. The brain plays tricks on you. So you have to get realistic with it. Like, oh, Leaf wouldn't have texted me back for 3 hours, but now I can send a spirit text and sit down if I so choose, whip out my pendulum, and he's going to be right there talking to me. So you have to make these connections, and that's how you, like Kathy said, you elevate this relationship, because your brain, your human ego brain, is going to tell you, and I remember thinking, this is never going to be enough. This is never going to be enough. This is never going to be enough. Where I sit now, you guys, it's more than enough. I can honestly say to each of you, and this makes me sound like a crazy, crazy person, I would not change what happened. I don't wish for it to be different. All is as it should be. And I can say that with 100% certainty of my spirit. Okay? And I live in the power of that. My relationship with Leaf is so much better now than maybe what it would have became on Earth. He and I could fight sometimes. Me and my kids are some strong, in case you hadn't noticed, we're strong-willed, loud, very stubborn people. And so who knows? Maybe Leaf and I would end up estranged for a few years because we butted heads. Who knows what that would have looked like? You have to stop telling yourselves that the relationship in physical would have been better than the one you have now, because you don't know. It may not have been. You know, I was estranged from my parents for 2 years after Leaf left body. You know, I'm not, nor have I ever been estranged from Leaf. I'm not right now. So you have to allow yourself to love the relationship that you have now. And you have to make those connections that the relationship you had in physical was not better than the relationship you have now. Because you know where your grief comes from, guys? You can say that, well, I grieve that, you know, Leaf couldn't get married. No, I don't grieve. I didn't grieve that Leaf couldn't experience that. I grieved because I didn't get to experience that, because that was the expectation I set for myself and my son. So part of walking through your grief journey is releasing programmed expectations and telling
And
yourself,
parents are never supposed to outlive their children. That one
Not-
drives me fucking crazy, because if you
it's not
think about
true.
it, it's a total societal construct. Because if you look at the biological world at large, we are literally the only mammal who ever expects to outlive our children. Animal children regularly perish before their parents. So it's not outside of the natural order. It's a complete societal construct, because we have good medical care and we have clean water and we have all this and that and the other thing, you know. And in years past, parents regularly lost children. Women would give birth to 9, 10, 11 children, and 4 of them would die. 5 of them would die. Parents didn't, it wasn't as big a thing for parents to lose children. But then we started thinking of ourselves as gods, and doctors are gods, and modern medicine, and we should never outlive our children. And it's a fucking lie. It's a lie.
It's a social contract. And that's exactly what we're talking about. You have to look at things outside of the social contract, outside of the social construct, outside of the programming, you know. And boy, howdy, a couple of years ago, I made that post. I did that post about we're the only mammals. And whoo, boy, talk about some heated energy in the Healing Warrior parents that day. I flat pissed some people off that day because they did not want to hear it. But it is the truth. We are mammals, we are animals, and our egos have become so proficient at leading the way that our spirits get kicked to the wayside. And, you know, even in the 3D, in this physical planet, guys, it's a lie. Parents are not supposed to outlive their children. We're not. Nobody's supposed to outlive anybody that has a contract to leave body when they're supposed to leave body. Even animals, right? So you have to really get into the nitty gritty and look at these things. Look at the things you're being told. Look at the things you have been told. Look at the things you have been taught. If it causes you weirdness, like, ugh, like when you see who's here, when you see somebody that writes, ah, what a tragedy, parents should never outlive their children. How does that make you feel when you read that? Do you just kind of cringe and go, oh, eh? That's because it's out of alignment with the truth. It's not peaceful because it's not truthful. It's not what your inner spirit and your soul knows to be true. That is your emotion, part of your emotional guidance system. Okay. How many of you are to the place right now? Do you still tell yourself that, yes, I am connected. Yes, I know they're not dead, but it's still not going to be enough. It's okay. Don't be ashamed. Guys, it's a lot of fucking work to get past that one. Let me tell you.
I think I'm to the point now, 5 years now,
Mhm.
where I'm actually accepting, like, it is enough, because this is what it is. And
Right. It's a form of surrender. This
Surrender.
piece takes a huge form of surrender, doesn't it, Pegs?
Yeah.
Like you finally surrender to the fact that, you know what? It's kind of like if, you know, I'm having some vision problems in my right eye. if I fully go blind, I will hate it. I will be so like, you will see Nikki at a new level of resistance that you have never witnessed in her before if I can't see out of my damn right eye. But if I lose vision to it, it's not going to be the same as when I had vision in both eyes. But I will inevitably surrender to it, and I will adapt to it, and I will elevate from it. Right? Humans are extremely adaptable. You guys have the choice to adapt to your grief and being comfortable with those social contracts and social constructs. But guess what? You have just as much power within you, within your spirit, to also evolve and adapt into that side leading the way. You've all experienced that. Every single person here has experienced that to some degree, or you wouldn't be in this class. You wouldn't resonate with Kathy and I at all. You would think we were crazy, voodoo teachers that cuss a lot. So all of your inner spirits know this, and you're all adapting to it. So and here's the deal, you guys get to make that choice, right? Peggy now at 5 years has made a conscious decision that this is enough. She's ready to surrender to this new relationship because it's just really not half that bad, is it, Peg? Pretty good, pretty good. It's like literally the most solid, stable relationship in any of our lives, truth be
Right.
known.
It is
Less
pretty
bullshit,
stable
less
relationship.
drama, less back talk. It's an aligned relationship. It is literally a relationship of true 100% unconditional love. Because you know what a condition of love is for humans that we don't even realize? A body. Yeah, a body. We now get to transcend that and actually fully experience love without condition. And for humans, being immersed in expansive love and a daily relationship that involves that without a body, that's huge. I want you guys to marinate on that and think about it. We're all down here. Oh, we just want to be loved unconditionally. Oh, we just want to experience unconditional love. Your children have now given you the gift of transcended unconditional love. Yeah, we love them till the day is long in their bodies, but when they leave that body and we feel a whole different level of a new relationship, that's pretty freaking awesome if you think about it, right? All right. Does anybody else have questions, comments? Nobody? Did my mad ramblings of spirit just like kick all the questions out? Go for it, Debbie.
Yeah, sorry I jump into this meeting, so I'm just trying to make sure that I understand what you are trying to teach us about cellular memory. But I think that's what I've been experiencing all this time is because Matthew transitioned on the weekend, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So what I feel is every weekend, Sunday, Saturday, I feel like kind of cuckoo.
Yeah.
And I'm really sad. I want to cry. And
Mm-hmm.
I just cannot stand looking at his picture. It will trigger me. And I will just, like you said, go to sleep for hours. Or lately, maybe like a few months ago, I went crazy on shopping, went crazy on going to the movies. And then at some point, I said, oh, I cannot do this because it's kind of like spending too much money. And I have to find a way. And I don't know what to do until today. You say that I can just simply use rubber band or slap my face or gargle. I wish I knew that before, and it is just today that I heard that. I'm
You know
interested
what?
to try it. Okay.
You heard it when you were supposed to hear it though. So don't put energy on wishing that you had heard it before because you're learning it at the exact moment you're supposed to
Right.
learn it. But what you're describing is absolutely 100% cellular memory. I was woken up on a Saturday morning by the detectives. So Saturday mornings were a big thing for me. It was a big cellular memory thing. He left body on the 10th of September. So literally for a year, I could feel the 10th of not just September, but the 10th of every month, my body would kick into cellular memory, right? So it wasn't even, I mean, and then the 10th of September came, boy, howdy, for 2 months leading up to that, it was full on. But the 10th of every month was a cellular memory trigger for me. Saturdays were a cellular memory trigger for me. Um, you know, for a little bit, even the dogs barking were so, and they bark all the time, you guys. You know this. Like they bark every time a cat walks by the outside yard, they can hear it. So because when the detectives came, my dog started barking, 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 and I had to go put him up. And then I tried to answer the door again. I opened the door and I'm like, hold these poor detectives. 3 times I did that. They tried to tell me, I'm like, hold on a minute. I got to secure my, they're out there just like, oh my God, can we just tell this woman this bad news, So there can be things centered around how you found out or what was happening, maybe even a song that was playing in the background that you didn't even like. All these little nuanced things can trigger the cellular memory and the trauma within you. So it's about like, okay, so Sundays are hard for you, Debbie. You know now that you're having cellular memory problems on Sundays. So you know why you want to go out shopping, right? Because there's an endorphin release. A lot of people, guys, how many of y'all went shopping? How many of y'all are neurotypical shoppers? So when you need that endorphin release, that's what you do. There's a lot of y'all out there. Thank God I'm not that person. I'm not a shopper. But Kathy is one. But it's because when you buy something, it releases endorphins in your brain. Like there's an actual chemical response that happens and it's soothing, right? It's what some people get when they exercise. Christine's a runner. She got it, she could get into runner flow there for a while. It's the endorphin release. So that there are healthy ways to get the endorphin release, there are unhealthy ways, right? So obviously, if you're running out and spending all the money to do the things to avoid the stuff, that's not a healthy coping mechanism. So you now know that cellular memory is going to happen on Sundays. Hold on, I got to plug in this computer. You now know that that cellular memory is going to happen on Sundays. So why are you talking to me? I don't want to talk about security right now, Windows. So you know that cellular memory is going to happen on Sundays. So let's put a plan together. So on Sunday morning, instead of waking up already in that rut, what I would do is Saturday night before you go to bed, you're going to set the intention that things are going to be different when you wake up in the morning. That Sunday is gone. That Sunday is gone. So you're going to have to tackle this mind, body, and spirit. So with the mind, you have to start telling yourself, body, you're safe. We don't have to relive this. That Sunday is gone. Guess what, Debbie? That Sunday is never going to happen again. Your body doesn't know this. That Sunday, that day, you guys, is never going to happen again. Okay? So you start with your words, you prep yourself, then you wake up on Sunday morning. First thing I would do, if you're starting to feel it, I would get up, I would go get in the shower, and I would do an energy cleanse. So I would call in Archangel Michael. I would ask him to move out all the energy and change out all the cellular memory in my body. You visualize it as the water's coming down. You watch it rolling into the drain and it's being released. You're setting energetic intention with that, followed by action, right? Because you're in the shower. I would put on 528 megahertz and do some tapping, because 528 works with the cells. Okay. I would do a tapping video. I would sit down and connect. I would practice a guided meditation with him. You can immerse yourself in connection and healing tools in that day. And if you do that for a good 6 months, every Sunday, you're going to find that the cellular memory has changed. Okay. But that's the deal, guys, is that when that cellular memory comes up, you have to be consistent. So Debbie, you're going to have to work on it every Sunday, and you're going to have to work on being present with Matthew instead of, because what happens is your body tries to relive it, and then what follows suit? Your brain. So then you're up in your head reliving it as well. And literally what you're doing is re-traumatizing yourself. Cortisol flushes into the system again. All systems are go, and you're literally re-traumatizing yourself again. Every single time you relive that day, you are re-traumatizing yourself, you guys. Guess what? You're digging a neural pathway even deeper. We all know it takes 70 days to dig a new neural pathway. When trauma happens, it digs a neural pathway like imagine an axe going into a piece of wood. Like it digs it. Bam. Every time you relive that day, you're digging it even deeper. So you're literally working against your own healing. So you have to get in front of it. And I had to do this with waking up, because that's, you guys, that's why I started my morning ritual, because every morning when I woke up, I would panic because Leaf was dead. It was like fucking Groundhog's Day, man. I would open my eyes. Even before I got my eyes open, the thought would hit the back of my eyeballs before I got my eyes open. And I woke up and I just relived it. And I just relived it. And so I had to get in front of that. So I started the night before getting in front of it with a nightly ritual. And then I would have Leaf walk me into sleep. I would talk to him in my head while I'm going to sleep. Even at that point, I was telling him about what I did that day, because I was still just trying. Like, I don't tell him that shit anymore. He knows I don't need to waste my breath on that crap anymore. But at the beginning, I needed to make that a conscious conversation. So that's how I walked into my night. Then as soon as I was lucid enough to know I was beginning to wake up, I immediately called Leaf in. Immediately. Leaf, come down and be with me this morning. Archangel Michael, come down and be with me this morning. And that's how I started doing my morning ritual, you guys. I would call them both in, and before my feet ever hit the ground, I was asking them to cut cords with me, and I would do like the violent flame visualization and burning off the grief energy, and I would do the tree grounding visualization. And literally, when I was waking up on those mornings, I spent like the first 3 hours of my day working on healing, because I needed so bad to change the pattern of what happened when I opened my eyes every morning. And so I would do my gratitudes and affirmations, and I would ask them to come with me. I would ask Leaf to come with me while I'm doing this, and I would go outside barefoot and I would ground, and I was walking on the grass. I would say, Mother Earth, please take out all the grief energy out from in my feet and transmute it. And then I would go back inside and I would try some tapping, or I would try a guided meditation. I mean, I would spend hours in the mornings doing this, because it was so detrimental to me to open my eyes in the morning. And now we're 7 years out, and I don't do it for that reason anymore. And I don't work on it for 3 hours. But that's why I encourage you guys to do a morning ritual, right? So Debbie, it may take you waking up, you setting the intention the night before, you starting with it, you talk to him all night, ask him to, I would ask Leaf, I would say, just please walk me into sleep, because it would keep my brain engaged with him instead of my brain going back here reliving this. So I would keep my brain engaged with him, and I would just talk, right? And then as soon as I woke up, before that thought came, and before my physical reality hit that, oh my God, Leaf is dead, what the fuck have I woken up to again? I can't do this again today. I would immediately jump in with my tools and I would use them. And there were days that I had to use them in my first year. There were days that literally, when I say to you guys that I immersed myself for 12 and 15 hours a day, that is why. Because it kept my brain busy enough on my healing and opening my awareness and practicing my connection that I couldn't allow my brain to go back and relive it and re-traumatize myself again and again. So that's what I would offer you to do, is set something in motion that on Sundays, and I would do it every day if you're still in that space, Debbie, but especially on Sundays, kick it into high gear. And then I brought Leaf into everything I did. So if I had to go, drag myself to do the dishes, which I didn't do a lot of, if I had to drag myself to shower, which I did not do a lot of in year one, I will tell you, I did not shower, I did not eat. And so when I would go and do those things, I brought him with me. I would speak to him and say, Leaf, I have to go take a shower now. Will you come and sit set your spirit down on the toilet and talk to me while I take a shower. And you know what's funny about that is then he started doing bathroom humor with me. Like even on medium readings, like group readings, the kid will do bathroom humor with me. And I believe some of that is because in those early first year, early days, I was literally saying, come to the bathroom with me. I was saying, come do the dishes with me. And I would just talk to him while I was doing it. And I focused with him that much in those in that early healing time. Now, when I wasn't doing that, I was on the floor kicking and screaming and crying and wailing and snot running all over me. And, really, I'm a very good grief releaser. And it doesn't matter where I was at. I could be in the middle of the grocery store and hit the ground and be carried out. It didn't matter. So that's what I would offer for those of you that are having those sorts of things. Immerse yourself in it. Kim Woodruff, right now, you are in the perfect setup to immerse yourself into this healing. You have the time, you can't go anywhere, like you are cocoon. But that's what I would offer to you, Debbie, is start working with that and do it consistently. And then after you spend however many hours with them, say, you know what? We're going to go out and we're going to go to the park. Will you come with us to the park? And if you can, will you show me that you're here? And I'm going to try to practice opening up my awareness to see that you're here. And you include him. Okay. And for the rest of you that need that takeaway, that's how you do it. Include them. Guess what's going to happen? You will eventually not have to include them in everything all the time. 7 years out, Kathy's down here. We go out to the thrift store. We don't say anymore, Sophie and Leaf, will you come with us? Where in year 1, we would have done that. Now we just go hang out because they're doing whatever the hell they're doing at 20, 24 years old, and they'll let us know when they're around. So, but at the beginning, it's okay to have that total immersion. I truly believe that it is beneficial to the healing because it rewires your brain faster. It helps with cellular memory. It works on taming your ego. It just works on a lot of different levels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Debbie.
I have another question. So I've been trying to be strong and try to communicate with him and include him in my activities, but I'm a very physical person. And as you know, I didn't meet him for so many years before he transitioned.
Right.
And that time I was like really hoping to meet my kids again, to hug them again and kiss them again. And I didn't get a chance to do it. So it's like a longing of the physical, how to overcome that pain. Lately, I'm kind of crazy. I'm hugging my dog, Yossi, and I say, Yossi, please send this hug and kiss to Matthew.
Perfect.
That's what I've been doing.
The longing for the physical, and we'll show you by a raise of hands. Who here, the absolute hardest fucking part of this is the longing for the physical? Raise your hand. It is the number one hardest part of this. It doesn't matter what age they were, doesn't matter if they lived near you. That is the number one hardest part. Longing for the physical is extremely, it's going to be a work in progress for a while. I will tell you. Do what you're doing. Here's another thing you can do for longing of the physical, guys, is the hug thing that I told you about. That's a big one. Even sometimes I allow Tom to hug me. Tom can openly hug me, and he has a hug a lot like Leaf. So sometimes when Tom is hugging me, I ask Leaf to come in and work through that hug. Another thing you can do is I learned to practice, because I don't feel energy. I learned to practice feeling Leaf touch me. So and we all know this, the beginner of having them touch you. Do you ever feel like you have bugs in your hair, Debbie? Do you ever get the bugs feeling in your hair? Ask him to touch your hair. Start practicing with him. Ask him to touch your hair. You will feel it. I promise you. I would sit real still like this, and I would ask Leaf to touch the palm of my hand. And then I felt into my body, into the physical sensation. And both times that I did that, I felt him, it almost felt like he took a finger and he just ran it across my palm. I have felt Leaf has literally smacked me on my arm. He's tapped me on my arm. He used there for a while. He was tapping me on my arm at like 4 a.m. to wake me up. And I finally said, kid, will you like stop? I'm in human body and no human wants to be awake at 4 a.m. You know, but you have to learn how to feel into that. And you're gonna have to stop saying, I wish I could have had it when he was in body, because those thoughts are disempowering to you, because and you have to grieve this, but that time has come and gone. So now what you need to focus on is feeling him touch you from his spiritual presence. Okay. And they can. I've had spiritual hugs from Leaf. I've had 2 major ones. They kind of scared me because they were very powerful. And I thought, oh my God, am I having a heart attack? Because I felt like I was being squeezed. Um, and then I learned to feel his touch in my hair. You can learn how to do that, but you have to let go of the I wish I could have had that when he was in body, because that time has come and gone. If that were meant to happen, Debbie, it would have happened. And now the power that you have in front of you is to learn how to feel into it now, because this is what you have to work with now. A lot of your healing, you guys, is going to come in realizing what is empowering for you to focus on and what is disempowering for you to focus on. I know the powerlessness that comes with this is absolutely terrifying and frustrating and aggravating. It's the hardest part to surrender to, is that you're absolutely powerless in this. But guess what? You're not as powerless as you once thought you were, because you all are here developing or having established a new relationship with your kids. That's where you get your power back. Okay. Now, you still have to grieve that part, but there's a difference. How many of you understand the difference between grieving and becoming your grief? You know how you know that difference? Because how many of you have become your grief at some point in your journey? I sure did. How
Mhm.
many of you are now know how to grieve without becoming your grief?
Mm.
Yeah. So it's a process. And you're very new. I think you're the newest one here right now. So look to all of these women. Look to all of these women. How many of you women that are further out, and this is a hard one to say, how many of you can tell Debbie that this gets better? Raise your hand. How many of you can tell Debbie that this gets easier? Raise your hand. So you take that hope and that light, because these women are all living it. These women are all living it. We've all lived it. We're all walking it, and it's going to get better. You just keep going. You just keep going day by day. Go day by day. On the days you can't go day by day, go minute by minute by minute.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yes, Brenda.
as long as you're working on it, even if you do just one teeny tiny little thing every day, it will get better. If you just sit on your ass and wait for it to get better, it's not going to happen. That's not how it works. You
Yeah.
have to put in the effort, but one teeny tiny positive healing based step every day will keep you going.
It will. Because time doesn't heal this. Time absolutely does not heal this. Time will numb this out. Time will disassociate you from this, but it won't
It's,
heal it. You're the only one that can heal it.
it's a choice.
It is absolutely a choice. And Debbie, there were days that I had to make that choice damn near every single minute of the day. You know, I remember also, you guys, stop telling yourselves, you know, I'm getting closer to leaving this planet. The whole goal of healing is that you get to a point where you want to stay on the planet. You want to stay here and still have experiences and adventures. And like, you know, people will say, I'm just ready to go. I remember saying I was just ready to go. Now I'm like, damn, because I have some medical issues. I'm like, I do not want to go. I want to roller skate more, and I want to body surf in the ocean more, and I want to drink more Bloody Marys, and I want to go to more warrior weeks. And like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And really, that was a gift from Leaf, because before Leaf left Body, I suffered from depression and I wanted to die all the time. And now I don't want to die. I want to live my life with exuberance and joy, and I want to experience it. And here's another thing, guys. You signed up in your soul contract to come here and learn certain things. If you don't want to repeat your lessons, you better damn sure get in line and learn them. Like my empowered thought when I was like, I want to die, I want to die. I was like, but I believe in soul contracts, and I know I wrote lots of stuff in to learn. So the reason you continually see me work on my shadow work and my old wounds and all of that stuff is because I am not repeating these fucked up lessons that I wrote in. Like, I'm going to learn to the hilt. That way, maybe next time I can be like, I can be Smudge and just have Lynn take care of me my whole life. Right? Or I can be like a super rich person's Pomeranian on a yacht or something. Or I can be the person with the yacht, whatever. But like, I want to learn the most that I can learn this time, because I believe in my belief system that in each life we live, we come back with a resonance, a remembering, if you will, deep down inside of us of what we learned the last time. And one of the reasons I believe that is because I believe that I've been through child loss probably hundreds of times. There's no rhyme or reason why at 2 years out, I should have been feeling so much better. And every time I read something, I was like, oh my God, that's it. Or then I would read this and I'm like, oh my God, that's it. Like, my remembering was like, bam, 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 bam. I still had to work with my human brain on it, but I believe that is because I've probably done this several times. And each time I've done it, I brought into the next life a little bit of what I discovered the life before. Does that make sense? So this one, I'm like, I'm going to learn all of it. I'm going to program it into myself. That way I can take massive remembering into my next incarnation and have a ball more of the time than I had a ball this time. That's my goal. That's my driving force.
Yeah, and I'm going to remind myself when I get back on the other side not to be drinking and smoking and go, hey, let's do this.
Oh, yeah. So lots of good questions. Brenda, did you have something you wanted to say, sis?
I was just gonna say, that yeah, Dakota's been going 10 years.
He's not gone.
Yeah, the first 6 years were still hard because, like, I was remembering living in the hospital with him the whole time,
Yeah.
but I was carrying his box around all the time. I didn't want to leave his side. I couldn't go nowhere, going on vacation or nothing, without having him with me.
Mhm.
But yeah, I found out, past couple of years, being with the group and everything, that it does get easier.
It does.
It shows that you can have a better connection and everything. And I'm talking to him like he's still here. I
Because
do
he
the same
is.
thing, signing cards and adding gifts and everything under his name, but nobody ever says anything, which they're
That's all
lucky.
right.
But yeah, it does get a little bit easier. It's still there. I still remember the hospital, but it's not as bad as it was.
Yeah, because the trauma is going to remain with you. Like, here's the deal, guys. I can walk into that day now in my mind. And when I walk into it in my mind, it is like number one, when I do it consciously. Okay. It doesn't come and slap me in the back of the eyeballs anymore. I can walk into it consciously and I see it play out like a movie. Because in my truth, that is all that has happened. We wrote a script. We came down here. We're living out a script. It's not the first movie we wrote. It's not going to be the last movie we wrote. So you can reframe your trauma in such a way that, like, I don't say I don't say, well, it's always there. It's not always there for me. It is literally a total afterthought at this point. You know what I mean? But I've also done a lot of work. I've walked through all those triggers. I've done very nuanced, in-depth trigger work with myself, and it took a lot of years. But you celebrate your small wins, you look at your measured progress. You know, I have a lot of clients that will say, I've had clients that say, Nikki, like, how long do you think this is going to take me? And I'm like, first of all, that's the first sign you're not being present. Because if you're doing your human experience right, you're always going to be healing in some capacity. This is the boot camp for the rest of the healing that you guys will continue to do on yourselves. Okay. And boy, howdy, it's a hellacious boot camp. But you look at your measured progress, and you all have measured progress, or you wouldn't have raised your hands when we were showing Debbie who, if it gets better, if it gets easier. And you have to always remember and give yourself props. Did you guys ever think you would be able to raise your hand with that? I didn't. In fact, I was asking all the people that have the dead kids in my town, like, hey, how do you do this? And they were all telling me, well, it's just always kind of there. And I was like, that is fucking unacceptable. Like, this is terrible pain. I can't always be there underlying everything. But the shift is that we all can go out and enjoy moments now and not feel guilt, because we know that they're experiencing with us and through us. So it's all meshed together. And I want everybody to give Brenda, Dakota's mom, a big round of applause, because this is the first year that she has decorated for Christmas in 10 years since Dakota left body. And that is huge. That is huge, because you will not find a lot of women that went 10 years becoming their grief, and then they decide there is a new way and a different way, and they step into shifting completely. And this woman has done it over the last year, and it's been a huge honor to watch. It is a big deal. Celebrate your wins. Your kids want your wins. Don't feel bad when you're winning at it, because that's what they want. They're cheering you on. Brenda, stop saying that Dakota's gone. Every time you say that, I just want to reach through this computer. Stop saying your kids are gone. Stop saying you lost them. Use the words that support your truth. I say left body because that supports my truth. Literally, that likely just jumped out his body. I used to say hop the veil. I used to say transition. And Christine, you can appreciate this. I stopped saying transition, because then as the LGBTQ community came up, I was like, they probably think that my kid's turning into a girl, right? So, like we had that discussion the other night with Kathy, but like, find words that are not in the social contract. Find words that feel better to you. Kathy and I will say hop the veil a lot because it's very flippant. And by the way, you guys, the veil is your awareness. The veil is another word for awareness, your personal awareness. So find the words that support it. I like left body because that's all Leaf has done. The kid is ornery, he is loud, he doesn't smell as bad anymore. Thank God, because 16-year-old boys, boy howdy. And he minds a lot better, but all he's done is left his body. Nothing else has changed. So find words to support your truth, because Brenda, you're really, really ingrained to say gone or left. If you say gone or left, is that supporting your truth that he's still right there and still exists with you? No. So there's a little piece just in that word that's ticking a little neural pathway in there. Use words to support your truth. So that's going to be the assignment. Don't forget to do Zoom takeaways tonight, guys, while it's fresh, because we have covered a lot of ground tonight. So I want you to do Zoom takeaways tonight while Kathy's pulling. I'm going to go ahead and post for those. But I'm going to post an assignment tomorrow that I want you guys, the kids, I know, Brenda, the gifting stage. I want you guys to write down under the post that I post tomorrow, what word to describe that your child died feels most comfortable to you right now. And that way we can share what everybody's using, because you might find something that somebody else is using. Kathy and I interchange a lot of different ones. We say they're invisible with superpowers, they hopped the veil, they left the body, they transition. A lot of times now we say they died, because died is a completely different word than what everybody thinks it is, you know?
Well, and what I will frequently say in in the company of others who don't necessarily embrace the full ongoing relationship that I have with Sophie, I will say experienced physical death.
Right. Yeah.
And that, so to me, that frames it more so that people can understand it, and it still uses the death word they all want to use,
Still
but
uses the big
but
D.
it still affirms my truth, because that's all that happened was a physical death. It was, she's not dead and gone and out,
Right.
black nothingness forever and ever, but she's just not here physically. So I will use those words when I'm with what I call normals, or even with other bereaved parents who are outside of the healing warrior parent realm, and so I still creep into a few of those other groups, because I try to throw out lifelines for people. And I will use that phrasing when I speak to some, other people who might not be as open to the ongoing spiritual side.
Also, while I'm thinking about it, is tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. So if you guys will go to the Warrior Parents United Facebook page and share that,
It's not going to be
fundraiser.
posted until about midnight tonight. The fundraiser will be posted around midnight. So if you go in the morning when you get up, or if you're a night owl like me and you're still up past midnight, you'll be able to share it from the Warrior Parents United page after it's posted.
And you are welcome to donate if you want to. There's no donation too big or too small. We will be posting it in Healing Warrior Parents as well, and we'll post it in the group as well. If you want to donate, that is awesome. If you want to share it on your page, you can write your own blurb, like, this is the organization that does our outreach, and they've helped me with, you can make it in honor of your child. But it is our big push for the year. It's actually the only fundraiser that we've done every year up until next year. We have some things in the work for next year, but that would be great if you guys would help support the Warrior Parents United in that way. I know some of you are on the actual Giving Tuesday team, that you're set and ready to launch. So we appreciate that as well. Kathy, will you explain? I have got to run and go tinkle. TMI, I know, but if you know me, you know I always TMI. Kathy, will you explain to them the Spirit Kid gift exchange? Because
Okay.
I always confuse people when I try to explain it.
Basically what we do is a Secret Santa gift exchange, but in addition, you choose the gift for the person whose name you receive, but you ask your child and their child to come in and help you choose a gift. And it may sound daunting to some of you who have not done this with us before, but I promise it works. 2 years ago, or maybe it was even last year, I had Andrea's name, and I wasn't very familiar with Nicholas at that point. I hadn't really known Andrea that long. I hadn't got to know Nicholas. So I asked Sophie to help me, and she brought Nicholas with her, and I got this vision of a glass ball hanging in a window. And I knew exactly where it was. I knew exactly what store to go to. And when I went to the store, it's my local metaphysical store here in Cincinnati. And when I went to and see, they're both itching my head now. When I went to the store, the exact spirit ball, this beautiful blown glass orb that I had seen in my vision, was hanging exactly where I saw it in my vision. And I knew that was the gift I was supposed to get for Andrea. The next year, Rebecca's son Joseph was my helper, and they picked out the perfect pendulum. So what you do is if you want to participate, we'll start a thread in the group. If you want to participate, post your name and your address. That's all you got to post. We don't want to know what kind of likes, dislikes, none of that, because your child will take care of all of it. And we switch names, and then you ask your recipient's child to help you choose the gift for their mom. Easy peasy, and it's a lot of fun.
I've done it a couple of times, and I think it's like uncanny. It really is amazing what happens. I think I've done it, I don't know, at least twice, but
Yep.
It's just, I mean, it's really, I would have never believed it was so powerful and so
Yep.
incredibly accurate, and it's just awesome, really is.
Yep.
don't
And I
let your ego
even
get in the
I
way.
even tried to argue the year that I had Rebecca's name. I tried to argue with the kids. I was like, really? A pendulum? You want me to get her a pendulum? I don't even know if Rebecca uses a pendulum. Why would I get her a pendulum? And I was at the metaphysical store, and I was physically drawn to where the pendulums were all hanging in a display on the wall. And as I was standing in front of them, one of the pendulums started to swing in my yes pattern from Sophie that we always get when I use my pendulum. And I was like, really? That's the one I'm supposed to get? And yeah, it was. They would not let me get something different. I even talked to Nikki about it. I was like, Nikki, I don't know if Rebecca uses a pendulum. She might not want a pendulum. It might be, I don't know. And they just kept saying pendulum, pendulum, pendulum. And they literally thumped me in the head until I surrendered and bought Rebecca the pendulum.
She's like, and here it is.
Yep.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about, how I don't know any of the kids too well. And Cody, he said he's going to help me and everything. And I'm like, I'm really
yeah.
paranoid that it's going to be.
But you have to remember, if you're like, I can hear Sophie. I know when Sophie's talking to me versus Leaf, but it's okay if you don't know the other kids, because your kid is going to come in and help guide that, because your kid knows how to get to you. So you may not hear, if you get Kathy, you may not hear Sophie, but Sophie's right there with Cody, and Cody's relaying the message to you. So don't overthink it, because they're going to let you know. Like, they're going to let you know.
Well,
Yeah.
but when I did, I think it was last year, the person, I didn't know this person very well, and she'd lost her little girl transitioned, and she was about, I don't know, 3, something like that, very young. So I went to Chapters, and I went to where all the baby toys were. And it was like Kevin was saying, and I'm looking around for this baby toy, look and think, well, this makes no sense. And Kevin said to me, what, you can't give her a baby toy. You can't buy a baby toy. That's ridiculous. So I went into this other area, and I saw this book, and I was literally drawn to this book almost physically. And I can't remember what book it was. So, but some of you probably have read it. It's some inspiring book, but the cover has a big red heart on it, and a huge red heart. And I found out after I'd sent it that the little girl had died of passed away, transitioned from a congenital heart problem. So, I mean, it was just amazing. And I got the same present from somebody else, and it was I think had a horse on it. And Kevin loved horses, just loved them.
He still loves them.
Yeah, you don't need to be paranoid, Brenda. It will, you are connected enough to Cody. It'll be easy peasy.
And something you guys can do if you're nervous about it, remember that spirit always speaks first before your ego. So like, you can literally say, like, you can say, okay, guys, like, what do you want me to get her? And you may hear the word sock real quick, sock. And then your ego's going to go, did they just tell me socks? Like, I don't want to get them socks. Like, should I get them socks? Like, your ego's going to start going, me. But the first thing that came into your consciousness was the word sock. So they're telling you sock, right? And what you'll see too is that, like Lynn said and Kathy said, you may, and I don't, Lynn, was that the first time you had experienced like the actual physical pull of spirit towards something? Like, you'll be surprised with how it plays out. You
Yeah,
really
it-
will.
Like I was shocked because I thought every time I did it, I think, oh, come on, this is a little much, right?
Lynn's always
So,
like,
it
those
was
damn
it was
crazy
just
women.
amazing. It was just amazing. Like it was just literally practically pulled towards that book. And she
Yeah,
loved
you-
it. She just
You'll
loved it.
be surprised. And it's not mandatory, so we'll do a post, and I don't know if you said this because I ran to the bathroom, but we'll do a post, and if you want to participate, you need to get signed up in that post ASAP so that we can get the secret part generated. So we'll say, Kathy, how many days do you want to give them to sign up?
What's today's the 27th? Let's have everybody signed up by before Monday, which is the 4th of December.
And I'll pin it in the featured tab too. This is the only tab we have left, but I'll pin it in the featured tab so you don't have to scroll through and find it. You can just go to your little featured button and it'll pop up. Also, guys, did everybody see that Dave got back with me and he's going to do breath work Saturday, December 2nd at 5 p.m. Just so you guys know, I am going to be in the process of moving from one part of town to another part of town. It's divinely timed, but it's come at a very inconvenient earth time for me. So Kathy and I spoke. I'm gonna obviously have to do like the switching of the internet and all the blah 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 stuff you got to do. So Kathy, there may be days like I may be moving on Saturday, so Kathy may facilitate on Saturday with Dave. There may be a few days in the next week or so that I'm indisposed with the moving, so Kathy will be facilitating some things where I may pop on, but I may not be able to stay on because I have to get moved over there. That way I can get set up and finish the program and get ready for Christmas and all the things. Like right now, I'm just packing. My whole living room looks like a storage unit again. So just so you guys know, Kathy's going to jump in and which will be good. That's probably why it's divided. Actually, I damn near think that is why it's divinely timed because I've been trying to get her to facilitate and coach for 2 years now. And she's like, I can't. So now Spirit is going to make it where she has no choice or we don't have class. So, yeah, how you like them cookies, Kathy? I'm glad they piled it on me to have to put it off on you. So, but just so you know, so Dave G will be Saturday at 5. If you have not done breath work with him, I would highly, highly advise that you do it. It is not just an opportunity to regulate your nervous system. It is an opportunity for you to get into flow. And when you get into flow, you can often have direct communication and visions with your child. So, and somatically, and Debbie, this is going to be really good for you. Kim Woodruff, it's going to be really good for you. This is it's a very intense breath work. I will tell you that. But it is, Lauren, it'll be really good for you too. It is a really good way to get your nervous system back into regulation where you can start pulling your window of tolerance out longer. It's a great somatic exercise. It's good for release. You may cry tears. You may have some anger release. Christine is actually a facilitator now. She just went through the breath work teacher classes. So she can attest to it. It's a very powerful, powerful healing tool. So if you have not done it, I would highly encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity and do it for sure.
I want to put in a quick little plug about connecting with your kiddos with the breath work. So that's kind of what I was finding that I was doing with Alex with breath work with Dave. And I kept saying to my husband, Steve, like, I feel like I'm actually visiting Alex. Like, I feel like I'm like actually seeing, like, I've walked through Alex's house. I've walked through his garden, like amazing, absolutely amazing. And just recently I had a reading with Rachel Pearson and Alex confirmed to me that I was actually extending my energy over to the other side. Like he was giving very specific details of things that we had done together in these breathwork sessions. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
It
It
is.
is.
And Dave is fabulous.
Dave
a
is
great guy.
wonderful.
brings-
Yep.
He brings a great, he's very direct and he's very authentic, which is why I resonate with him. But he also brings a very gentle masculine energy, which is something we don't get in the bereaved parent community a lot of times. So that is nice. And also you can have these experiences like Christine had. You can also have other types of experiences. I don't meet Leaf when I do breath work. I meet my shadow. So what comes up for me is usually it pinpoints to me in my shadow where I need to work. I know one time I came out of breath work and man, I was just fucking angry. Like I had tears, I was angry, I felt shame, and it was all stuff within my shadow work that I had not really looked at yet. And so it pinpointed where my direct work needed to be within my shadow work. And that's what I began working on. So very, very big experiences happens when you get into flow, and it's great for the body, you guys. It is very intense. He will guide you through it. He will tell you, and this was my experience. He was like, when you first start, we get through the first part, like you may want to bail, you may feel like you're gonna die. And I'm like, and I got there and I was like, I feel like I'm gonna die. And he was like, just try to push through it, try to push through it. And so I pushed through it and I got through to the other side of my panic, because you have to remember, you're like oxygenating your entire system in such a way that it is not used to. And so there are physiologic things that happen, that occur, and he will explain all of that before the session and he'll let you know that. But it's a pretty intense thing, and it's a great experience. So, and it's something that you can continue to do breath work with him or with Christine. Christine is starting to facilitate on her own, and coming up she's got some good stuff in the works that she's bounced off me, and Spirit's given her a few little tidbit of ideas to add in. She's coming up with her own thing. So that, look forward to that. But definitely breathwork is a huge tool. So all right, before Kathy pulls cards, does anybody have anything else? Let me see on your hands where your vibration's at. All right. I'm going to take 5s and 6s as a win tonight. All right. Not too bad. Keep raising it up. All right, Kathy, you're up.
Okay, I'm gonna pull tonight, and for the few of you that were not in the card pull pop up yesterday, a couple of you contacted me and got cards pulled privately. If you want a card, Angie and Becky, if y'all want a card pulled, just hit me up on Facebook, send me a message, and we'll pull your card. So tonight I'm going to pull for the group from the Mystical Shaman Oracle that we used yesterday. And I've been shuffling. And tonight we have number 16, Eagle. Eagle is the card for tonight. So let's see what it says. And I have ruined my Zoom. All right. Eagle comes from the east, the place of the rising sun, of new beginnings. She soars high in the sky, sees the smallest detail with clarity without losing track of the bigger picture, and nests in the high mountains. For Eagle, there are no obstacles, only opportunities. She calls you to ascend, to acquire perspective so you can fly wing to wing with great spirit. Have you become trapped in your daily routine and feel you do not know where to go and what to do next? Have you lost sense of your purpose? Eagle invites you to take a deep breath and spread your wings. When was the last time you opened them? Eagle reminds you that your spirit was born to soar to the heavens. As you contemplate choices, ask yourself, do I want to live in a chicken coop, sheltered from life, counting the regular feedings, or do I want to soar like an eagle? If your answer is the latter, then you must accept Eagle's invitation and embrace the courage that will help you choose freedom. It is time to see through the eyes of Eagle. Let your vision of the whole and of its parts become laser-like and set your priorities straight. What did you come to do in this life? Did you come to climb up the ladder of financial or social success? Did you come to become a better person, to heal your heart, and to realize your essential self? What is your divine mission here on earth? No more excuses. Of course, you do not have enough time, enough money, or enough sleep, yet the time is now to fly to your chosen purpose. If you postpone it, you are betraying yourself. Look through the eyes of Eagle and consider every obstacle an opportunity. Where you set your intention is where you'll end up. Free yourself and live your highest destiny. Fly.
Rebecca, was that one directed specifically? I'm watching your face during the whole thing. She's like, oh shit. Okay. I've made the post for your Zoom takeaways and aha moments. If you guys will go in and fill those out. Let me ask you this. Is there anybody here that would like to volunteer to close us out with our energy work? No one? Okay. I just want to see what skills we got. Nobody wants to do it? All right, I'll do it. It's like pulling teeth with you people sometimes. You're lucky because 2 years ago in each class, after I did it a few times, I would pick somebody to do it. So be prepared. That may happen. That may happen in December.
Oh shit.
Andrew's like, I'm already doing gratitudes and affirmations. Come on, Nikki. Okay, everybody take a nice big deep breath. Get relaxed. Relax those shoulders. Get them off your ears. Close your eyes and visualize. And repeat after me. Archangel Michael.
Archangel Michael.
And Michael.
Archangel Azrael.
Archangel Azrael.
Azrael.
Please come down.
Please come down.
Come down.
And cut all energetic cords.
And cut all
Cut
energetic
all
cords
energetic cords
That drain me.
that drain me.
that drain me.
That feed my pain, shadow, and negativity.
That feed my
That feed
pain.
my
shadow,
pain, shadow, and negativity.
That connect me to my ego self.
That
That
connect me.
connect me to my
self.
ego self.
And that do not serve my healing or my highest purpose.
That do not serve my healing or my highest purpose.
Please shower upon me
Shower upon me
and surround me in divine white protective light.
and surround me in white protective light.
Thank you, and so it is.
Thank you, and so it is.
All right, get those spirit hands moving, get the energy moving. Palms up, eyes closed, deep breath in. Exhale and say, I call all of my divine power back to me now.
I call all
all my divine power
now.
to me now.
I want you to see those beams of light that is your divine power coming in from each other, from all over the globe. If you've been online, anybody you've interacted with today, been on the phone with today, texted with today, anybody you've embraced today, walked by today, worked with today, those beams of light come out of them and they merge together at the palms of your hands where they meld and mold into liquid light. As that light becomes liquid, take note of the color and feel the warmth as it begins to spread through your hands to each tips of each finger. It makes its way down to the wrist, feeling your body cavity as it moves its way down like liquid lava into your forearms, to your elbows. Feel the warmth as it begins to spread up through your upper arms, into the shoulder area. Take a nice big deep breath in. As it moves into the chest space and up to the neck. Again, take note of the color. You may begin to feel flushed as it feels to the lips, into the nose, up to the eyes. As it moves up into the forehead, it opens the third eye bright, connecting you to spirit, to the very tip of your head where the crown chakra opens. That light moves back down through the shoulders, into the upper chest space. Take a nice big deep breath in and let it spread. As you exhale, you can feel the space in your chest opening up as your heart opens. Give a good visualization of your heart open.
Did we lose Nikki?
Yeah, we lost your video, your audio, Nikki.
What? Am I back?
Yeah, now you're
Yep.
back.
What was that? I must have been putting out some good energy, man. Where'd you guys get to?
Chest.
Really? Wow. Did you do the rest of it on your own?
Through the body and down all the way to my toes.
Okay, good. I was at the tips of the toes and then say thank you and so it is. That's really strange. Because I was like in it. Like I had strong visual going too. Probably one of the strongest that I've had ever in class. That's very interesting. And that, my friends, is how energy can affect your physical world. Like, don't ever discount that, ever. How vibration can do it. Okay, so Saturday, I may or may not see you all. Kathy will see you either way. 5 o'clock, we'll get the Zoom set up and do everything. Please go in and do your Zoom post takeaways. Please participate in sharing at the very least the Giving Tuesday. Tag your family, tag your friends. Sign up for the gift exchange. And is that all? Is that all the housework? And
That's
other
it.
than that, sleep with angels, and we will see you guys soon.
Good night, ladies.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank
Night,
you.
ladies.
Good night.
Good
Bye,
night.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.